Okay, sorry about that. I was at an hour, so I stopped the video, and I'm gonna continue working, but I break them up because they take so long to upload to YouTube. So with that, sorry for the interruption, but I'm back, and we're gonna finish this album, at least the inside of the album, tonight, right now, because who knows what tomorrow brings. All right, I'm going to change the orientation so I can see the edges better. And while I'm doing that, I'm verifying that I've got everything going in the right direction. So the top is this way and the bottom is that way. And like I said, this is my favorite page. I just love the way it came together. Okay, now when we first constructed the album, I made a mistake and I told you to glue this pocket down all the way up, and I should have left a slight gap on either end so whatever our paper was that's going to go here would slide behind it, and I forgot to do that. So does that make 2 or 3 mistakes in this album? Anyway, I'm losing track because there's so many. Sorry about that. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pull this pocket off carefully. And it doesn't have to be a lot, maybe a ½ inch or so. Just enough to gently slide this paper down slightly. So I'll probably wind up, and I didn't use a lot of adhesive, so this is actually coming off pretty easily. I'm going to tip it so you can see where I've pulled it away so I can slide behind it. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And like I said, it's not very hard because I used very little adhesive because I wanted the full width of the page. Okay, and it's okay if it tears because we're covering it up. What you don't want to tear is the top piece. The piece behind is okay if you've torn it slightly, because all that is going to get covered first of all by this, and then you're going to glue it back down anyway. So now I'm checking to see, yep, it fits perfectly, so I'm going to ink this and glue it down, and that solved our problem, and then we'll glue this flap down. The other method is to just trim it to fit here exactly and not lift it. But personally, I like to tuck it slightly into the pocket, and the reason I do is when you're pulling things in and out, to have a little lip underneath here helps, so that when you're pulling it out, it's not snagging on the lip of the paper above it. And hopefully that makes a little sense. Did I get it all? I think so. So this is going to go in this way. So all I'm really checking for is left to right, because I can always push it down if it's too wide, and it looks good. Okay, glue this back down. Hold that in place for a second. Now this side. A little excess. Okay, and then as you know, we've got 2 tags that will slip into this pocket side by side. And I'll do that during the embellishment phase. I have not trimmed out the covers for this yet. So that's in. And as you recall, this is a flap as well. So we're going to cover this flap and this space. And I think I planned just a large mat for here. Well, I know that's what I planned. And it is too wide, so I'm going to trim this down to fit. 7. There we go. Okay, so more, what else can I talk about? Oh, so if you are new to the channel, be sure to click that more button beneath the video box, and you'll get links to all the products that you're seeing here. And then if you keep scrolling beyond the material list and the links, you'll find the cut list. And the cut list doesn't include the designer paper cut list, but includes all the flaps and interactive components for this album. So that's always handy to have. Even though I run banners, it's handy to have. And I just want to let you know too, if there's ever a discrepancy between what I'm saying and what I've written in the cut list, the video banner, the one that runs across the bottom that tells you the measurement, is always right. Sometimes I need to go back and correct a typo on the cut list, and sometimes I say the wrong thing, but the banner is the right thing. That I pick that up and I add that information during the editing process, where I'm double checking everything I said. It's easier for me to add the banner and put the correct measurements than it is for me to go and edit the audio. Because if I try to edit the audio out, I also wind up cutting out part of the video, and that's even more confusing in my opinion. So of those 3 things, it is the banner that runs across the bottom of the video that is the most accurate. Now, having said that, I have made mistakes before. And when that's the case, you'll see something in the top of the comments under the more button that tells you, hey, I made a mistake at this time stamp. Here's the correct information. Once it's uploaded to YouTube, I can't edit it. It's there in perpetuity. And because we're just a small shop and we run out of our homes, I don't have a gigantic data center to store all these videos. So I upload them and I delete them off my device because I need the space for the next video. So even if I could fix it and then re-upload it, well, I can't because I don't save it. So there you have it. So that's what I do, and that's why I do it that way. So it's always good, even if you don't use the cut list, to look at that more button just in case I've made some corrections. It'll be typed there. But I have to say, we are just coming on 1 year, and I think I've done that one time. I have had discrepancies between what I'm saying and what the banner says, but I've not had a problem where what I said, the banner and the banner were wrong. So I think I've only done that once, so it's pretty rare. And if I could remember which video it was, I'd tell you right now, but I don't know anymore. Okay, that looks good. I'm happy with that. Okay, I'm just checking visually to make sure I've got my book turned right side up, because I'm always flipping it around. And we're good. One more time, looks good. The nice thing about not piecing or color blocking is it does go a lot faster. But I really like the look of the color blocking. And I was inspired. There's a designer, Memories by Leah, I think. She sells tutorials on Etsy. And I've seen lots of her albums. And I just love watching her walkthroughs. She does some of the best color blocking I've seen. She puts a lot of effort into her tutorials. They're beautiful. And you can purchase them on Etsy. She's probably one of my favorite designers of mini albums. And when I say mini, more like midi, the 8x8 and up size. There are some other very talented designers that work in a smaller scale, Ginger Rot being one of them. And I love her designs. They're clean, they're fresh, they're crisp. She does some pretty fun things. Her stuff is great for projects, I think. And I tend to go a little larger in scale. But she has a very clean aesthetic. I like it. And then of course Diane from Graphic 45, it's phenomenal. Of course she's the brains behind the pattern, so she definitely knows what to do with them. She's very good. Especially at dimensional projects. Which when I first started paper crafting, I used to like to do, but now, you know, you can only cover so many things in your house. And once you have a stationery box and a jewelry box, you know, and a box for your photos, how many more boxes do you need to decorate? So I kind of run out of reasons to decorate boxes. One of my favorites, though, is to beautify a box and use it to hide your remotes. Or to put an album in. Somebody was asking me, how do I store these books, especially the ones that have dimension on the top? I store them upright in a bookcase, face out. I don't put them in a box. I know a lot of people do. But I found that when I put anything in a box, I might as well get rid of it because I never open the box. So one of the reasons I like to store them face up on a bookshelf, face out, standing up on a bookshelf, is I have found that people cannot walk by them. They cannot resist picking them up. And that's sort of the whole point of having a photo album, right? Is to share your memories. And people feel compelled to pick them up. So that's how I display them in the house. And they're everywhere. They're in my hall, they're in the dining room, they're everywhere. You can't go into a room where there isn't a mini album somewhere. Including one of my first, and I keep it just so I can go back and look at, you know, sort of how far I've come. Okay, that's in. All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get these two pieces in. So I'm gonna use this really thin strip down here. And this is again from the 12 by 12 cut apart. And I think I've got it cut to size. I'm gonna double, no, it's a little too long. I'm gonna trim this little tiny bit off and ink it, which is kind of a challenge because it's so small. But again, that's why I love those ink pads. They really don't get all over you, even though I'm hitting myself with it. Okay, let's test it. Right on. Right on. Keep forgetting to put my cap back on. Oh, and let's see, what else can I tell you guys? Oh, these glue caps, we have them available in the shop. I love them. I found them at Scrapbook Expo some number of years ago, and then I found that they were really hard to come by. So we started carrying them in the shop just so I could have them. I really love them. They work perfect with the art glitter glue. It provides just the right amount of flow so you don't you know, put too much glue on your project. And I don't have to spend hours looking for the straight pin that goes in the top of the glue bottle, which drove me crazy. I would lose it and then I'd put another pin in it just to find out it was a pin that was not stainless, so it rusted. It was, I was just a pain. So I love these for that reason. They do clog occasionally. And of course I use mine a lot. I don't know how many issues other people have, but I use mine, you know, pretty much every day. There's hardly a day that goes by that I haven't, you know, have had the bottle open or closed a couple hours. But I've kind of figured out what I do is every time I change my art glitter glue bottle, by the time I'm out of this, it's time to really clean my tip. So I'm going to change my bottle anyways. I take the tip out and I soak it. And after it's soaked for a while, I start to take it apart. So it actually comes in, you've got the pin, you've got this screws on, this outer cap, and then underneath there's something actually holding this pin on, and it pops off too. All of those components, 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces come apart, and I soak them to get all the glue out and then reconstruct it. Make sure it's really dry when you put it back together. Otherwise, when you start to use your glue again, it'll just rush out because it's thinned down by water that might have been trapped. And they don't last forever, but they last a long time. There's a small valve underneath this blue part that sort of regulates how much glue comes out. And once in a while, you'll have a failure there. But in the year that I've been making mini albums, and there's been a few, I have replaced my cap once, and I think I owned it for almost a year prior to that. So a minimum of a year, I would say. And if you don't craft like I do, like a crazy person, you might get more years out of it. Okay, this needs a little more. We're almost there. I think that'll do it. Yes, ma'am. Now it looks like it's a little bit wider than this strip, so I'm going to take that little bit off. And we should be right on the money. And it's pretty close. It's close enough. I think if I try to trim it one more time, I'll make it too short. So I'm going to ink it, lay down. Isn't that pretty? I love the little cut aparts and using them that way. Was it this way? Yeah, this is definitely that way. Okay, I'm gonna turn this right side up so I don't mess up and put this in upside down. So what am I doing when I'm pressing all around like this? Well, the glue kind of, when you put it on, it's kind of in a little bead. There's a little bump. And so by pressing, it just squishes the glue out. So it kind of goes to the edges. And I get good adhesion across the board. Instead of just a squiggly line, it kind of spreads it out. That's why I work it with my hands a little bit. And you can also do that with your bone folder. All right, so that's done. So we have this large mat here, and it can go in that way or this way, and I think I'm going to put it in this way. I haven't used a lot of this pattern. but I think it goes very well when you're looking at it this way. I think it's very visually pleasing. It's a little too large, so I'm going to trim it down a little bit, width and height. Okay, now it looks like I need to come a little bit off the height. I think that'll do it, so I'm going to ink it. After I'm done getting all these pieces in and covering all my ephemera and my inserts, I may come back and add a few elements to this page and pages like this. Like I could add a pocket on top. And it really depends on how much paper I have. I haven't planned for that yet, but if I have enough, I might go ahead and add a pocket here. Because it's really nice to have pockets that are protected by flaps where you don't have to worry about anything flying out. So there's a chance I'll do something here, but it really depends on whether or not I have enough paper to not only build a pocket, but to have something inside the pocket like a photo mat. So there you have it. And again, you'll see all that when I come back through, and I'll point that out as part of the ephemera video. Two internal flaps to cover 2 B-sides. And then the last page is pretty... Now this is what I had originally planned when I was going to use the green side. I don't like the way these two reds play together, so that's out. So what I do think is going to work on this page is green. So I'm going to shuffle around until I find some green, which could even be the back side. That's awfully busy. It's too busy, I think. Too busy. I sure thought I had another piece of green somewhere. Sorry, shuffling. There's one piece of green. Let's see what else I have. Oh, here's another piece of green. Not a lot. We'll make it work. So we could do a solid piece down here. So one of the things I'm considering is piecing this green together and then adding some red to the top and bottom. So I think that's what I'll do. It'll take just a few minutes to trim it out. So the question is, do I want to use this pattern or which I happen to have. Well, I have this green too. I have a whole sheet of this. What do you guys think? Too busy? Too much? I think I'm going to piece together here, and then if I come back and decide to do a pocket, I'll use this. All right, so with that, I need some red to trim down. This is the other option, and that looks crazy busy. Okay, so is this the right? Pretty much. So I can cut this down. Let's measure this page. I mean flap. Measure the flap. And it's 5 inches. I need 2 of those. Okay. So at the very least we can do solid red, but I think what I'm going to do is that red and green. So I'll do green and then red. So let's figure out what 7, 8, okay. So just trimming this down to 6 7/8 because the width of the paper is 7 inches. And that should give me my gusset, or not gusset, border. All right, and then let's see how wide this is. This is 3 inches. So I'm going to split it in half. So I have a 1 1/2 and a 1 1/2, and that's how I'm going to do it. So do I want them both on the bottom and top, both toward the center? I kind of like that. So that means I need to take about 1 1/2 inches off the red. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and glue down the green. And this is more detailed than I've ever gone into for color blocking. So some of you are going to hate it and some of you are going to love it. And if you don't have kind comments, keep them to yourself. You can always mute me or fast forward and skip through some of this tedious color blocking. Again, I need to trim this down, it's too long. The piece I'm laying down was a little too long, or wide in this case, is 1 1/2 by 6 7/8, 1 1/2 by 6 7/8. And now I'm going to trim this red piece down to fit the remaining. And here's another opportunity to pull in a decorative strip to space them. Ooh, I likey. So I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to butt these together and then run a strip across the center of them. Yep. Hopefully I have 2 of those, one for the top and one for the bottom.